Welcome to Becoming a Better You podcast. I am your host, Coach Paul. While doing over a decade in prison, I faced many ups and downs, including losing my mom and stepdad to cancer and struggling with my drug and alcohol addiction. It took 9 years in before I was tired of the way I was living and decided to turn my life around. And now it's my mission to help others do the same. For the past 3 years, I've built an elite online fitness platform to help others gain control over their mindset, health, and fitness so that they can overcome all of life's obstacles. Join me as we tackle difficult challenges, overcome obstacles, share our health and wellness goals, and motivate each other through the process. Together we can grow, transform, and become better. Are you ready? Then let's go. What's up? What's up? It's your boy, Coach Paul. Welcome to another episode of the Becoming a Better You podcast. Super excited to have you here. On our last episode, we had Dr. Jeff. I almost called him Coach Jeff. Man, one of my clients, me and Shale, we always call him Coach Jeff as kind of a joke that we have. You know, he's an amazing human being. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Dr. Jeff. Today, what we want to talk about is I want to talk about when I got out of prison for the first time and the 9 months in between prison sentences, right? Because when I got out of prison at 22 years old after doing 18 months in prison, I had a goal. I had a goal to make some changes in my life. I had a goal to take the experience of going to prison and the experiences that I dealt with while incarcerated as an opportunity to change, to learn, and grow, right? So I was 22 years old. I got out of prison. I moved back in with my mom. And I told my mom I was going to stay out of trouble. Now, at that point in time, I was not yet convinced that I had a problem with drugs and alcohol. I knew that doing like hard drugs like meth was a problem, but like smoking weed and drinking, I didn't believe that was a problem. And so immediately when I got out of prison, I went back to smoking weed and drinking. But I was able to control it for a while. I was able to smoke weed regularly and drink alcohol from time to time. And I was able to control it for a little while. And because I was able to control it, I was able to start getting some things in my life going, right? So during that period, I was able to I enrolled in some college classes, right? So I enrolled in San Jose City College, which is a city college in my neighborhood right there in San Jose. I enrolled in San Jose City College for a weightlifting class and a Spanish class. My goal is to use the weightlifting class to get fit and healthy and the Spanish class to use a skill set. Growing up in San Jose, Spanish is a well-spoken language. I actually spoke quite a bit of it growing up. And so I figured I'd learn Spanish and just get better at speaking Spanish. It could be utilized in the workforce. And I got a job. I got a job for Sprint. And it was just a maintenance job doing, they were actually opening a new store in, Santa Cruz. So I'd go out there to Santa Cruz and help them paint and put up shelves and there's different things, right? And so I had this maintenance position with Sprint, with the Sprint company in San Jose. And so I had this job with Sprint and I was going to school. I was smoking weed and drinking. I had my girlfriend. She had moved up from San Diego and things were going good. Things were going really good. Right. And what ended up happening is as I'm smoking weed, I'm hanging out with people that are smoking weed. Right. I'm also hanging out with people that are doing other things. And, my drug addiction and the criminal lifestyle started calling my name. I wasn't making a lot of money at Sprint. And I started hanging out with people that were smoking weed, but they're also doing other drugs. And at one point I decided I wanted to do some other drugs with them. And so I started getting high on meth again, right? I started doing meth again. And I actually went, they say a lot of times when you stop using drugs, especially your drug of choice, and then you get back to it again, you pick up where you left off. And I did exactly that. I picked up where I left off. I went back to smoking and snorting meth. And before you know it, I was shooting up meth, right? I was shooting it up, which is something I told myself I would never do. I told myself I would never use drugs intravenously. And during this small 9-month period, I began to use meth intravenously. I started shooting it up and, it kind of drove me crazy. It kind of led me to start acting in mannerisms that were not becoming of me as a human being. I decided to drop out of school. I decided to stop going to work and I decided I was going to be a drug dealer again. And to be realistic here, when I say drug dealer, I've never been a drug kingpin. I've never actually been good at dealing drugs because I'm a drug addict. And although I start off with the goal to make a bunch of money and become successful, the reality of it is I start making some money and I start spending that money irresponsibly. And then I start using more and more drugs. And because I'm using more and more drugs, I'm unable to make enough money to cover my expenses or cover what I owe the drug man or cover the opportunity to buy more drugs. So then I commit more crimes like robbery and stealing from other people, or even selling people fake dope in order to get over on them and make extra money. And so I started getting myself into different altercations and situations with people because of this. And so here I am running around, 22 years old, high on meth, carrying guns, acting a fool, and trying to cover up the fact that I had failed again, right? I was so depressed and so upset and so frustrated with myself that I had failed once again. I'd gone to prison for 18 months. I'd gotten out with the goal to do well. I started off just smoking weed and drinking. I led me back to doing hard drugs, doing meth, right? And I had failed once again. Another opportunity to be successful, and I had failed. And I was really just beating myself up. During this 9-month period, I was really beating myself up. I was really frustrated with myself. I couldn't believe I had done this again. And my drug addiction and criminal activity led me deeper and deeper into despair. I eventually got to a point where my mom didn't even want me at her house. I couldn't go home. I was staying at different people's houses, sleeping on different couches, sleeping in my car. And things just got worse and worse, right? Until one night, I was out there. I was coming down off the drugs. I was angry. I actually decided I was going to make some changes, and I checked myself into a drug program, right? So I checked myself into the drug program this next morning, right? I checked myself into the drug program, but here's how sick and insidious my drug addiction was. I checked myself into the drug program, and I actually brought drugs with me into the program. I brought a syringe full of drugs, full of meth, full of dope. I brought it with me into the rehab, the drug program. And my goal was to get high one last time. It never works like that. It's never one last time. So I check into this rehab. They go through my stuff. They don't find the drugs. I go to my room. I get my stuff organized. And then from there, I proceed to go into the bathroom to get high one last time. So I go in there and I shoot up the drugs. And, man, I get high. And then I'm carrying the syringe into my waist pocket to go out to out to throw it away and get rid of the evidence. And I go out and it actually drops in front of other people in the program. They see the syringe drop. So I pick it up and they're like, "Hey, what is that?" And I tell them like, "Oh, I'm going to throw it away." And I walk over to the trash and I throw it away. I really do throw it away. And the guy watches me. He sees me. But he goes and tells one of the coordinators of the counselors there. And so they call me down over the loudspeaker. So I go down there and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? We heard this and this." I said, "Yeah, I found it in my bag and I was throwing it away." There I am still lying. I came in there to do right? I was sick and tired of how I was living, and I was tired of living on the streets and tired of getting high and tired of hurting my family. And I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. And so I went in there and I made this whole lie up about how I found this empty syringe in my backpack and I was throwing it away, and they asked me if I had any more, and I said no. They could search my stuff. They asked me if I was high, and I said, "Oh, just from the night before." And they said, "Okay." And they said, "We're going to let you stay, but we don't want to hear anything more about this." But okay, cool. So I'm high all throughout the day, and I'm high for part of the night. And late at night, maybe 2:00 in the morning, I finally fall asleep. So I fall asleep. So I'm sleeping, and then the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and we all have to get up and go to breakfast. So I get up and I go to breakfast. I'm just exhausted. I've been up for multiple days in a row, just completely exhausted. And, I go to breakfast. Man, this whole moment is like emotional for me. So I go to breakfast. I eat the breakfast, and then I try to go back to my room and go to sleep. And they say, "I have to go to class." Tell me, "You have to go to class." I said, "I can't go to class. You guys don't have a detox period where I get to sleep for a few days?" And they're like, "No, we don't do that here. You have to go to class." And I needed a detox. I needed to sleep, and I needed an excuse, to be completely honest. I needed an excuse to leave, to say that I tried and they didn't let me stay. And since they didn't have the rehab opportunity for me, the detox opportunity for me to sleep for a few days, I had to leave. And so I made a decision to leave. And so I left. Packed my bags. I left. My girlfriend picked me up. I went to her house. I dropped the bags off there. I slept the day away. I got up later on and that addiction, that monster was awake again. And I woke up and I wanted to get high and I reached out to some people. I couldn't find any drugs and I went to go find drugs and I went and talked to some people and they didn't have anything or they wouldn't give me anything or they wouldn't trust me to pay them back later because all the dirty, nasty, grimy shit I've done in my life. And so I give it up. It was late at night. I was trying all day, all evening, right? I slept all day and I was trying all evening to go get high. I just couldn't do it. I wasn't successful. And so I'm driving back to my girlfriend's house. And I'm driving past this guy and he just stares at my car, right? And I'm angry. I can't get high. I'm coming down. And this guy's just staring at my car. So I stop the car in the middle of the street and I get out and say, what the fuck you looking at? So, oh, I thought you were my homegirl. And I said, do I look like a bitch to you? Fuck you. Right? And I'm angry, right? I don't want to fight this guy. And what happens is we get in this verbal altercation and I threaten to kill him. I threaten to beat him up and kill him and all this crazy stuff. And, you know, the crazy thing is at this point in time during this situation, I did not have a firearm. Although later on I was charged for having a firearm during this crime. During this exact crime, I didn't have a firearm. Now, I'm not saying I never had very similar situations like this where I did have firearms. I'm not saying that I didn't commit worse crimes with firearms. What I am saying is that on this exact night, I did not have a gun, but I did have anger. I did threaten to kill him and I did want to fight him. And I ended up leaving, getting in the car. I messed up. I told him my nickname. I told him too much information and I was angry. I was yelling in the middle of the street like a psychopath, like a crazy person. And I got in the car and, I drove back to my girlfriend's house, defeated. I hadn't been able to get any drugs and I went to sleep again. And when I woke up the next morning, I had a bunch of missed calls from my mom and from my brother. And, the police had kicked in my door in the middle of the night and were looking for me. They were looking for me. They had me down as a parolee, armed and dangerous. They told my mom that if they pulled me over and I had a gun on me, they would kill me. And my mom told me to turn myself in and that I needed to turn myself in. And I used this as an excuse to keep getting loaded. I was not going to turn myself in. I've never turned myself in and I never would. Like that was just like not how I got down back then. And I was going to go on the run. Screw this. I'm not turning myself in. And I just use this as an excuse to keep getting high. And at that point, my girlfriend, she was like, if you're going to keep getting high, I want to get high with you because I don't want you to keep leaving me. So I started getting high with her. And over the next 9 days, me and her just went on a run, smoking meth, shooting up meth, different people's houses, all kinds of bullshit situations. And I only lasted 9 days. And those 9 days were rough. We're sleeping either at her house or in our car or at other people's houses or not sleeping at all because we were high on meth. And it was just a really shitty situation. And before I knew it, I was just burnt out. I was tired. I was done. I was ready to give up. And here we are in an alleyway smoking meth. And we drive away and the police get behind us and pull us over. And I knew at that moment my entire life was going to change drastically. I thought at that moment my life was over. 22 years old. I had all these crimes that were being held against me. And I was just done. I was just sick and tired of it, right? Have you ever been sick and tired of the way you're living, of the things that you're doing, of the lifestyle that you're living? If you're currently sick and tired of what's going on, I want you to send me a message on Instagram and let me know. _coach_Paul. The Coach Paul. I want you to send me a message on Instagram and let me know that you're sick and tired and what you are sick and tired of. What has led you to feel sick and tired? Because at that moment, I was sick, I was tired, and I'd given up. Now, I did at first give them a fake name. I gave them my little brother's name. A lot of people say we look very similar. I'm a little bit taller and heavier than him. Gave them his name. They ran the stats. The stats didn't match up. They then told me, hey, if you don't give us the real name, we're going to take you down to the station anyways. We're going to find out. We're going to fingerprint you. And whoever you are, you're going to have more charges. And so I finally was just done. And I gave up and I told them my name. And they ran my name. And when they ran my name, they heard what I was on the run for. And they immediately pulled their guns and said, get on the ground. get on the ground. Where's the gun? Where's the gun? They had their guns drawn out on me. And I got on the ground. I laid down. I said, I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun. They handcuffed me. They searched the car. They did not find a gun. And at that point, they put me in the back of the cop car and my entire life changed. Entire life changed. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into what happened next, right? Those are going to be future podcast episodes. I'm just excited to keep sharing my story with you guys. If there's anything specific you'd like to hear more on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram. Let me know. I hope you're finding value from the stories that I'm telling you, the understanding of who I am, what I've been through, and what's taking me from where I'm at to go to where I'm planning to go. Next week, our episode is with a good friend of mine. His name is Zune. He's actually running across America. Super excited about that episode. Looking forward to bringing that to you. I hope that you enjoy this episode. Don't forget to reach out to me on Instagram, the Coach Paul, _Coach_Paul, THE_COACH_PAUL. Looking forward to hearing from you. And don't forget to keep becoming a better you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Becoming a Better You podcast. If you found value in today's episode, I'd love it if you'd share this podcast with someone you care about. If you appreciate the message I'm sharing, please give me a quick review and 5-star rating. This helps to spread the message further. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, the_Coach_Paul. With that being said, peace and love to all. I will catch you on the next episode.